3 straight weeks of bad football from your Seattle Seahawks. And for the second time in 3 weeks, they were utterly embarrassed on national TV by the San Francisco 49ers, their rivals, 36-24, in a game that's going to have many a 12th man jumping off the bandwagon and saying that the season is over. And while I don't think that we're quite at that stage, it's still much too early to come to that kind of conclusion. These have been 3 absolutely miserable losses. Maybe this one is even the worst of the bunch. And again, you're seeing some common themes play out over the course of these games over and over again. And where it starts for me in the beginning of this is right with the defense and landing not squarely on their shoulders. There's plenty of blame to pass out in this game, as there has been over the past 3 games. But this is again where we start from my standpoint, because the defense once again has nothing that they can lean on as a strength. No bedrock to build upon. You can't stop the run. You can't stop the pass. You're not efficient in coming close to stopping either of those two functions from this 49er offense today. You didn't tackle particularly well. You're not coming close to sniffing a turnover. You're not coming in the vicinity of a turnover. Again, a common element that we've seen over these past couple of games throughout the course of this season is this Seahawks defense isn't even getting close to pressing that kind of action, kind of a symptom of how easy they're making it for these opposing offenses. And once again, rather than looking at a change of direction by this defense in this game, maybe we're going to attack this team in a different fashion than how we tried to attack the Detroit Lions, than how we tried to attack the New York Giants. You didn't do that. You came back with more of those 4-man fronts, more of the soft zone coverages, and once again, Brock Purdy as a quarterback was able to go out there, as he has done against the Seahawks defense, and running those same kind of coverages over the past couple of years and completely cut that apart. Against this Niner team, one place that has shown up for them over the past couple of years where their receivers and team can struggle is in man coverage concepts, that their players at times will have a hard time of generating separation in man coverage. But Seattle still leaned back into zone against this team, that which they do well against. Odd to see. I'm not sure why McDonald hasn't changed some of his approach over the past couple of weeks. Maybe it's just a short week. Maybe it's the 3 games in 11 days and you just don't have the time to run a real intricate game plan against the San Francisco 49ers or the Giants for that matter. But disappointing to see the same application of the same process that we have seen here in Seattle over the past couple of years, which has failed time and time again, and spectacularly failed time and time again. And I don't have a good reason for why we're seeing it. I don't know what this defense is trying to accomplish on that side of the ball. I don't know what it is they're thinking they're taking away from the opposition at this point, because it's not necessarily preventing big plays. That's the whole thing with the soft zone defense and the 4-man fronts and the lack of blitzing, is what it's supposed to at least prevent at the forefront is deep plays down the field. You're still getting broken coverages. You're still getting wide open guys with depth down the field for quarterbacks to go hit. And my whole thing I keep coming back to is, if you're going to run the 4-man front and soft zone coverage and it's not stopping the run and it's not stopping the pass and you're giving up the big plays and you're not getting any turnovers, what do you got to lose by blitzing? What do you got to lose by taking a different approach? And I think what frustrates me more than anything else with looking at this defense performance over the past 3 weeks is not that they performed badly or not performed up to their level of talent. And yes, injuries factor, and yes, some of the 3 games in 11 days factor, but it's also that the coaching staff has not necessarily dialed up a lot of extra intricate things to help them out on that defensive side of the ball. They've lined them up. They've said, go get it, do it yourself, 4-man front, get after it. And it's not been good enough. And it won't be good enough as we go through this season. The whole point of moving off Coach Carroll was the understanding that that old defensive philosophy no longer worked. You can't just trust your 4-man fronts in this modern NFL and expect that they're always going to create that consistent pressure unless you got 4 absolute dogs on that side of the ball. And we don't have absolute dogs aligned all the way on that side of the ball, especially when we're dealing with the injuries that we're dealing with. So you got to manufacture some things. And it's a question I'm being asked time and time again in my chat during my live stream shows right now is, why is McDonald not running his system here like he ran it with the Ravens? Is it that it's so intricate that it takes so long to onboard? These players are just not getting it, so he has to lean back into the simple? I don't know, but it is without explanation how you could watch this game and his defensive approach with those 4-man fronts and the soft zone concepts, and then cross-reference that with what he did against the Ravens going into San Francisco last year, where they absolutely shut down that San Francisco attack. Now, he had Lamar Jackson at quarterback last year. He had a San Francisco team that was not maybe playing at their best, but it was a different game plan altogether that he trotted out there that had a lot of success against Purdy and the boys, and it didn't seem like you came to anywhere close to running out that same thing here in this game, and it just didn't make any sense to me. There are other parts of this game to talk about as far as blame goes, but this defense needs to get better, and if they can't get better at running those 4-man fronts, then take some effing risks. Try some stuff out. It's okay if it fails if you're trying some new things out, but trying this old model of approach is only going to continue to fail. We've seen it here for years. When it comes to individual players and that there was a good player on that defense who stood out amongst the storm of bad players, no, not really. We're still waiting for Devin Witherspoon this year to come back after a great rookie season and show you some of the playmaking you're hoping you'd get with him. Not seeing much of that. Of course, it's not helping when you're dropping him into so much zone coverage. The interior linebackers, again, in this game didn't seem to be playing all that well either, as they continue to still kind of find their way in this new defense on this new team. Your defensive line got no pressure, as I said before on that. No sacks at all from their side of it. So nothing on this defense that you can look at and say, well, at least that's working well. At least that's working good. And right now, beyond finding solutions across the line, McDonald's has got to find something the defense can lean on as a strength. And if that's going to more 3-4 looks to stop the run, if that's going to more of a blitz heavy nature to at least force some of the action against the opposition, then so be it. Take that approach, but they didn't do so tonight. Hell, one of the times that they actually ran one of the few infrequent blitzes, it actually almost got home, forced an incompletion, but they just didn't go back to it, and I don't have an explanation for it. Offensively speaking, there's going to be a couple of guys that are going to draw a lot of ire from the fan base coming out of this game. Geno Smith. He's a guy that is often looked at by some of the fan base as not the guy of the future, and they are out on him. There's some of those like myself who have been big benefactors of Geno Smith saying, hey, you get him the supporting cast, you get him some of these things that are failing back to a place of functionality, and he could be a really good quarterback. Geno unfortunately came out and had the worst game of this season, and one of the worst games that he's had here in this 2.5 season stretch at playing quarterback for your Seattle Seahawks. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. He didn't look comfortable back there in the pocket today. He wasn't clearly going through his reads, maybe getting a little bit too locked in on DK Metcalf. Wasn't throwing with a lot of anticipation. There's a couple of fade throws down into the back left end zone on back-to-back plays where he's first going to JSN and then he's going to DK. He's late on those throws. He's pushing those throws a little bit too far out of bounds. He's not giving JSN and DK a chance to get their feet in bounds. A lot of people are knocking DK on that play saying, DK, get your feet down. But what it actually is to my eyes is Geno's got to get that throw out a shade earlier, and he's got to give his chance to the guy to get his feet in bounds. There's another throw to JSN later on in the game at the other end of the field where, again, throwing it far out of bounds, not giving your guy a chance to get the feet in and make a play there, where that was just an odd part of Geno's game today, where some of these throws that have been so pinpoint and on it and timely and throws with anticipation were kind of missing today. There's some interceptions in this game, an early one where you're driving right up the field, you move it all the way up the field, you're in a good position, you've got a 3rd and about a 5, and he decides to just kind of launch the ball down to Tyler Lockett in almost kind of pseudo double coverage. It wasn't pure double coverage, but the safety was bracketed over the top, the corner's close underneath with Tyler, a weird throw and an odd overthrow at that, where you'd more like, hey, try to get to maybe more of the sticks there, get the first down, keep this drive going. Why are you getting greedy there in that moment? Another interception later in this game where DK Metcalf is running a over route across the field, and Geno's got to put that ball out in front of DK Metcalf, and instead he's late to recognize it, late to get the throw off, and then puts the throw back onto DK's body, allowing the undercutting cornerback to catch back up to the throw and then make the interception. There was a 3rd down throw to JSN, a little short drag route across the field to 3rd and 5, a very rudimentary throw there for Geno Smith, and he whistles it 5 feet over the head of Jackson Smith and Jigba. I really do think Geno can be the guy for us both this year and into the future, but games like this are going to make his naysayers get very, very loud, and it was a very tough game to watch from his standpoint of it, how he played in this game, where it just did not feel comfortable, did not feel as on it as he's been, did not feel as poised in the pocket. It felt like at times he was kind of falling away from some of the throws. The pass protection was not perfect in this game. I do think it was a little bit more improved from where it's been, where there are games where he's well over a 50% pressure rate. I don't think it was quite there today as bad, but Geno just did not look as comfortable, as locked in, and I don't quite as much understand it. I will say, though, that if you're going to just take this one performance and then make all of your determinations of Geno Smith off this one performance and yet then ignore all of what he's done up until the season to this point, I don't think that that's very fair. And part of why we've got to give this kind of a full season to unfurl and figure out what we truly have both at the position and offensively and defensively for that matter in this first year of McDonald. But some odd decision making from Geno Smith in this game. He made some good throws around that. The offense was able to get some things going around that as well, and we can't undersell the fact that the pass protection wasn't great. It was just improved from where it's been. And the Seahawks did come out in this game and try to answer answer the fans' calls to running the ball, I think we saw a little bit as to why this team doesn't run the ball as much here in these early parts of the game. As a common trend that we again see today is you cannot run the ball at all early in football games. It seems like about once we get to about halfway into the third quarter, now the running game's going, now we got it clicking, now it's rolling, but all the way up until that point, you're getting nothing. And again, we saw in this game, not only your offensive lineman not even able to get kind of a stymie, just, okay, I didn't get the win here, I didn't get any push, but he didn't get any push either. You're getting a lot of pushing into the backfield where Kenneth Walker on one play here, again, I've seen it happen to him so often, where he's got a lineman getting pushed right into him, where he gets the handoff and then he has to bounce off the lineman and then go find the hole. It's really bad where the run blocking is right now as far as this team goes, and that's how bad it is, where it's just not even a neutralization of, I don't get pushed, but you're getting pushed into the backfield, and we saw that again today, and it sucked to see. It turns you one-dimensional really quickly as an offense, and it just makes the job harder of the offensive line to hold up in pass protection, and it just means you're going to end up with another high-volume day from Geno Smith, which just puts the offense into a less efficient state, and it certainly then gives you less opportunities to then get the ball to guys like Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, who themselves can be difference makers in how they can help you in this offense. I did like some of the creativity that Grubb showed in this game as far as finding ways to still get the ball in those guys' hands, even though the running game wasn't working early on. He has a delayed draw that he gives a couple times to Zach Charbonnet in this game, which really worked with that pass rush getting up the field from the Niners to then hit them and then get down the field a little bit with Charbonnet on some nice runs there. He was also running a couple of tunnel screens underneath to both Charbonnet and to Walker in this game, some quick tunnel screens to them, which had the blockers out in front, really nice ran plays. Like to build on that more for the future, where if you can't run the ball early on in games, if there's no holes to be found, at least you can come down to some of those quick short throws, get them the ball in space and let them work. I liked what I saw from Grubb on that standpoint in this game today, but a rough day overall from Geno and company. Not a great day in rushing the ball. Stone held up as well as you could hope for him to hold up on Bosa. You know it's going to give it to him if you've got to go against him 24/7 over the course of a game. But I thought Stone held up all right. Bosa wasn't able to dominate this game. He wasn't able to take it over. You still had your opportunities here offensively speaking, and a lot of what you had go wrong was once again self-inflicted. Poor throws that didn't have to be as off and as errant, where you weren't under as much pressure. Guys not making catches where they should make catches. And this is where we get to a guy like DK Metcalf, another very polarizing figure right now in the Seahawks fandom. Another guy like Geno that you're going to have to make a big decision on after this year as to whether or not you're going to extend him or not. And a game like this, much like I said with the Geno folks that are the anti-Geno folks, the anti-DK folks are going to have a lot more fuel to the fire in this game. I think there's going to be a little bit of adding on this one, where yes, there's a couple drops in this game that are fair if you want to point to a DK. And I understand he's got the headset moment in this game where Grubb's trying to talk to him on the headset. It's an emotional moment. DK seems to kind of go off a little bit in that moment. He doesn't freak out, but goes off, and the camera catches it, and you got him slouching on the bench. And again, this is going to be for those people that are in that mode with DK. It's not going to quiet them down anytime soon. But also, we can't overstate it. We can't overstate what was bad in DK's game and what he's not responsible for. And there was a late throw by Geno Smith in this game where DK wins on a 9 route up the field. And instead of throwing it away towards the pylon, throwing it away from the leverage of the safety there, he ends up throwing it back to the middle of the field, bringing DK back into the safety on the play. And it's partially because Geno throws it late, but it's also partially the ball placement on that throw. People will go to that throw and they'll say, well, DK had kind of a chance there, and he really didn't. The corner could kind of get his hand in there and knock it out. Geno allowed the corner to come back and make the play on the ball like he did on that interception to DK on the over route. But the anti-DK folks will say, should have caught that over route. He ran that sloppy. No, Geno underthrew it. And they'll say on that play, well, he should have gone up there and grabbed the ball. No, Geno threw it back into the safety leverage on that play. It's not DK's fault on those ones. Even the fade route in the back of the end zone, they'll stack this one on top of it as well. They'll say, well, he should have gotten his feet in. No, Geno's got to throw that ball a little bit earlier, and he's got to give his players more of a chance to get their feet in bounds. There's plenty of criticism to be heaped around in this game. There's plenty of guys where there's more blame to put than others. But I keep coming back to wrongs on this and saying that I don't feel like DK is a guy that's costing us football games, or the reason when we're losing these games that we're losing at the forefront or anywhere close to the forefront. And it's fair enough to pick at the things that he did wrong in this game, those 2 drops. But don't heap it all on him, because those other plays had other factors at play that were not necessarily on his back. Tyler Lockett, JSN played all right. JSN had a fumble that was luckily recovered later in this game, but they did fine on their side of it. Tyler Lockett had a touchdown catch here in this one as well. Tyler took the top off the defense early in the game on a great throw by Geno Smith, where he put it right over the top in front of Tyler. Tyler was able to create some late separation on the route. He remains pretty efficient as a pass catcher this year in what might be kind of his final year here as a Seattle Seahawk. But the offense really could not find much consistency, certainly no consistency really in the first half. They got to do kind of a 2-minute drive at the end to get a little bit of mojo working, and they eventually found their footing as they have throughout a lot of this season as they get more into the second half, as they have been very much slow starters on that side of it. But it was a rough day offensively and defensively, and guess what? The special teams kind of even brought their contribution into this as well. Because in this game, you've got Laviska Shenault, who has a fumble on a kick return at the worst of moments where you're needing things to be held tight, where you need to not put this defense on a short field as they have so many times over the course of this season. I mean, hell, our special teams has put this defense on a short field a couple of different times this season already, and that's got to stop. This has got to get cleaned up. And Laviska gets the fumble. Now Laviska comes back later in the game with a dynamic kick return, which really kept you in this football game. It put you within striking distance, because as bad as this game was, as maybe little businesses the Seahawks had in being in this game around the end in the fourth quarter, that kick return by Laviska Shenault was a good one. It got you back into it. It'd be great if it could happen without the fumble on the other side of it, where it doesn't have to be sort of a net zero at that point on the plus minus there, but he was able to make good on that little bit of a mistake early on. D. Williams continues to be a complete and utter nightmare back there as a punt returner. He's not sure about receiving the punts. He's not comfortable in receiving the punts. As I said a couple weeks ago, it's like his hands are shaking as he's sitting there getting ready to receive the punt. There's a play in this game where Witherspoon's trying to block the up man. Witherspoon ends up kind of semi-throwing the guy close to D. Williams. D gets a little bit freaked out and kind of falls backwards, and rather than just getting out of the way, the ball falls on his butt and then haphazardly puts a hand out as the ball bounces to, I don't know what he thought he was going to like reel the ball in that moment off the bounce, but it actually clips his hand. The officials go back and look at the replay and they still get it wrong on the play. It's an uncalled fumble there that should have frankly gone back to the San Francisco 49ers. Seahawks got to be the benefit of that, but another play in this game where he's got the kickoff and he lets it fumble into the back of the end zone, takes it back and ends up at the 10-yard line. I don't know what is the team saw in D. Williams this year. This is a weekly basis thing where it's a problem. He's not comfortable back there, and right now you don't need a dynamic punt returner. You just need a guy that can catch the ball and make the right decision in those moments. And that's something that he is just not able to do as we're watching him here. And again, the special teams unit continues to be in an ever worsening state from where they were the prior couple of years, where it's been such a dominant part of this program. One of the few things that we could really always truly hang our hat on as a strength game in and game out. Yet this year, on a game basis, multiple plays over, we can find that are really costing and hurting this team right now. Harbaugh over Larry Izzo from the prior year has not been an improvement. So 500 yards of total offense for the San Francisco 49ers, a quarterback that was able to play mighty efficiently, throw for 3 touchdowns, a running game that saw themselves down Mason in this game very early on. He was already at 75 yards in that second quarter, goes down on an injury after a big run. You go back to their third stringer and he's still popping off 80-yard runs. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's the number ones or the backups. Everybody's able to be efficient. Everybody's able to be effective against the Seahawks defense. And as they go forward, I said this last week, I guess I'll keep repeating it here as we go into the future of the season. If you have a defense that's just not this good, that's just this bad in every way, you as a defensive coach have got to dial some things up. Look at what Brian Flores did last year with the Minnesota Vikings. Undermanned defense, not very talented, yet he was going to structure up as much as he could to get the most out of that defense. And you know what? There was going to be some blown plays. There was going to be some times you take the top off that defense, but there was going to be some other plays on the counter where they were going to take it to you. And now you're getting some benefits of that Viking defense this year where they're finding a little bit more of a balance because the talent has gone up a little bit more with it. I'd like to see a little bit more of McDonald instituting a little bit more of that, a little bit more of what we saw from the Ravens and what caused him to be hired here, rather than seeing more of what we saw from Coach Carroll in prior years. Seahawks fans right now don't want to be told that they need to be patient, that we need to let this set, that we need to give it time. They're chomping to the bit, and I can't blame them for that. The team has not been good in a good deal of time here. They have one playoff win since 2017, but it does take time. Coach Carroll in his first year was 7-9 when he inherited that Seahawks team. And it's just a lot to kind of work through when you're a first-time head coach and turning over a roster and trying to figure out who's going to be the guys that can carry you through the future and what works and what doesn't work. And I think we do got to give this time. A lot of people looking to jump to conclusions after this game. This guy's not part of the future. That guy's not part of the future. How do we trade this guy? I think we would be better suited to give this season the time to fully play out and then see where things stand at the end of the season. See what the proper moves are that need to be made. But I know that isn't always what people want to hear, and it certainly is tough after it's 3 straight tough losses like this, especially 2 on the national stage where you get so thoroughly embarrassed. So I understand the feeling, I understand the sentiment, but I will preach patience, and I will remain hopeful. My name is Brandon Kane. This is the Hawks Nest. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. But beyond all that, don't you ever forget, go Hawks.